Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 5, Episode 5 is called Disaster. So full spoilers in the episode as always. Or the episode as always, I said that weird. But hey, so this episode is, and the title is actually a lot more simply representative of what it is than I think we could have even predicted, and it is very much the disaster movie style episode of a Next Generation episode, in that a lot of the characters are in different parts of the ship and their own little sort of groups. Something strikes, in this case a quantum filament, sort of knocks out a lot of the power and the engines, and there's like potential catastrophe if certain things, like, you know, if reactors blow, and you know there's 3.6 rotogen somewhere going on, like all that
jazz.
It's Chernobyl. It's the Star Trek Chernobyl. I'm joking, but you know, we have the characters in different pockets, and it gives them a chance to sort of maybe be put in situations. You know, Picard's with some kids, not his strong suit. Troy's
He's wearing his jacket though, so all is good.
That's true. Troy is the senior officer on the bridge, which is just a recipe for potential disaster.
Somehow, I feel like giving her an honorary rank so high was a mistake.
Well, Ensign Rowe, who's back this episode, clearly agrees with you, because the second O'Brien goes, I believe Councillor Troy is the ranking officer on the bridge, and Rose's
like, Lieutenant Commander. I'm like, really? She's the same rank as Data.
And she's like, Councillor Troy, we're taking orders from Councillor Troy. Is that what you say?
I think that's an appropriate reaction. Like, she's clearly only known Troy for like 2 weeks, and already she's like, oh god, this is going to end badly.
Keiko, O'Brien's wife, is giving birth this episode. Well, she's heavily pregnant at the start, but she eventually gives birth. Which is probably the funniest scene in the whole episode, is Worf just sort of very by the book talking what the steps of pregnancy are, and being very deadpan as he says, you must push, Keiko, you must push.
It just sounds like a push.
Yeah.
Push.
10 centimeters, it is time to give birth. That's what I have been doing! So that was funny. I thought it was an enjoyable episode. It's not a deep episode. It's not an episode with, you know, great moral, you know, debates and quandaries and that. But it's an episode where there's simple problems to solve. They all have their own little arcs. It's a fun time.
Look, there's no such thing as a deep disaster movie.
No,
I don't want to hear any ocean jokes, but it's fine. If that's what this is doing, it doesn't need to be deep, because the source material, so to speak, isn't.
Yes. But there's some nice things here. That's when we'll just tackle each of the groups of characters, because they all start off fairly separate, and there's a couple of weird reasons why certain characters. Because there's like a sort of like there's a gathering in 10 Forward, celebrating the upcoming birth, and that's why there's a few characters there. Riker's there, Data's there, Worf is there, of course. O'Brien's called up to the bridge though to do something, so that's where he ends up
Simulation,
going.
I think.
Yeah, something like that. Picard's going to give a tour to 3 kids, which he's actually not completely horrified by, and obviously by the end of the episode he's a lot more comfortable with the kids than he is at the start, but even at the start he's still a lot better than he was. If you go back to like the pilot,
it's not no kids on my bridge, but he's also like, ugh, kids. But
you'll notice at the start of the episode they say, can we see the battle deck, you know, the battle bridge?
I want to see all the guns and shit.
Yeah, and he's like, no. But at the end of the episode, when he tells them we're going to do a tour because they didn't get a chance, he says the first thing we're going to go see is the battle bridge. I'm like, so he's softened up. He's softened up, and he's willing to go. I guess we'll start there, because he's in the turbo lift with the kids when everything goes down, and he gets his leg gets hurt. He breaks his ankle or something in the chaos.
Also, I have a new theory on the jacket.
Oh, go on.
I think Patrick Stewart was just cold on set, and he was like, look, I need a jacket. Can you give me one that's in keeping? And they went, I'm sure we can sort something out.
Yeah. This isn't so slapdash production where they just hand him a parka and just try and explain it in the script.
Yeah, they were like, we'll sort something out for next season, all right? Just give us a chance.
Leave him a jacket. So he's injured, and he's trying to like calm the kids down. One of the kids in particular is especially morbid, where he just keeps saying over and over again that they're going to die. This kid's got some complex issues.
It's something that reminds me of like so much. I can picture the scene. It's like the kid going, we're dead, but I can't think what that's from, and it's really annoying me.
Yeah, and the girl of the three, she's a little bit older. So Picard's tactic to try and like sort of give them some confidence is that he takes off his little pins and he gives her two and says that she's now number one. They're a crew now. She's his number one, and then he has a second kid like the science says he's a science officer, and then he has nothing for the last kid. But he's like, "Wait, your science project you told me about that was to do with radishes. Okay, you're chief officer of radishes."
Yeah,
Makes up a
it
whole.
literally is that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's simple stuff. Like they have to climb out, and he basically tries to give her confidence to lead the other two kids out because he doesn't feel like he can make it. But she basically says, "No, we're not going without you. You know, we all go or we don't go at all." So she basically, and given that we see the turbo lift fall, like after they've been climbing the ladder for a bit, it would have been his death. Like he would have died if she hadn't talked him into coming with them and trying to climb the ladder on a broken foot. He would be
Which
dead.
he seemed to be doing just about fine, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he was being a bit overly dramatic, but he gets them singing, and that's basically the whole plot. Obviously, the nice part of this is at the very end when they're on the bridge. He's like, "Okay, we'll go for our tour tomorrow, or whatever." But he's going into his ready room. They give him like it's just a bit of cardboard, but they've essentially made him a plaque saying that he's the best. And
much.
As he's leaving, he says, "You have the bridge number one." And the girl says, "I saw the same time as Riker."
Yeah,
it's a cute
They
moment.
look at each other and laugh.
Yes. Yeah, but I hope there's
Riker's there going, "This little shit trying to take my job."
I hope there's an outtake where Riker, instead of smiling because he thinks it's cute, is like, "What are you doing? Are you stepping on my toes? This is my job. This is my job."
The only person worse with kids than the captain is Riker.
I'll fight you to the death for it right now, you little bitch. Come on. Come on.
Yeah. I can see it.
It's cute.
She just has to go for the back.
Yeah, he's got a wee back. Yeah, that's true. He's got a weak spot. And she's small, she's quick, she's nimble.
Yeah, she's got this.
She when he goes to do the Riker maneuver, his legs are really far, but he just has to dive between his legs, and she'll be behind him, and it's just
and Worf's just going to stand by and go, "Well, she bested you in combat, so the ship's hers."
Yes, I respect her more as a warrior.
Yeah,
because I'm a Klingon. Yes, this is straightforward stuff. So, so you got that. The main stuff with Troy. I just say main because they're on the bridge. It's not actually got any more time than anything else. Because they're a bit more aware that the ship's in the impending disaster because of the cooling and containment is like failing, so the ship will just basically blow up once it hits a certain level. And
Ro wants them to just kind of split the ship, abandon the bit that's damaged, and all the people that happen to be in there, if there are any people left in there that aren't dead because they have no idea, and just save what they can.
Although, as O'Brien points out, there's also no proof that anyone's actually died yet either.
Yes, once again, Troy's powers are pretty useless in that she can sense people, but has no idea where.
Yeah, I would say that I'll buy that her sensing there's a lot of people, like hundreds of people still alive, is enough of a motivation to give her to like take the leap of faith and like, no, we have to trust that people will be down there to help fix this, because it all kind of boils down, other than a couple of disputes about following orders, it boils down to, well, we can divert power so that the engineering deck can see what's happening on their screens, so that if they can see it, they know to fix the problem, because they may not know there's a problem otherwise. We just have to hope there's someone down there to fix it, and that sort of dovetails into the Riker and Data stuff, which they're crawling through tunnels to try to get to engineering to like try and see what's wrong with the ship.
Riker carries Data's head for a bit
because he has to use his body to like stop there's like an electrical bit of damage, and there's like it's to stop a current because otherwise it'll fry Riker. And he's like, my body can take this, but you need to take my head with you. So. Sure enough, and Riker quite quickly, once they get there, Riker's like, wait, why are the screens on? There's no other power down here, but the screens are on. It's like, unless someone wants us to see something, like someone's intentionally. So he quite quickly kind of gets the gist of it, and Data's able to do his thing. And
it's pretty lucky because, for Troy and that, in the sense that the Ro's like, look, there might not be anyone in engineering. This could be a waste of time, and we could be just killing everyone. And technically, she was right. In that there was no one alive in engineering at that point.
Yeah, it was just a leap of faith. It's a simple story mechanic. It's like, she was rewarded for believing they could get out of it, and ultimately, So it's simple enough stuff. I think that stuff works well enough. I liked Picard with the kids. I liked Worf delivering the baby, which was not really much more to say than that. We did have Geordie and Crusher. And this was one of the ones that was the most convoluted as to why there's a reason why these two are hanging out. Is that she's trying to convince him to sing in a show.
Yeah.
It was like really random. It was just like, okay, I guess this is the reason why they're together. And because he's doing work down like one of the the cargo kind of areas, that's just where they are. And they have their own problem where there's like a plasma fire that's going to ignite all these barrels of stuff that are down there.
That thing feels like it's over a lot earlier in the episode than everyone else's, or I don't know if that's just like my memory being fuzzy.
I don't think it was. I think it was paced out. It was just, it felt so separate that no one else in the ship ever knew there was a chance that this part of the ship was going to explode on its own. It was just there. It was them and their own problem doing their own thing, in a way, just because they had to have these characters do something. There had to be something for them to do.
Yes.
So this was it, and it's all right. Like, it's not. It's probably the most just kind of serviceable. It's there to give them a thing, and that's it.
Yeah, they suck all the air out and then do the fuzzy walk to try and hit the button.
Yes, to close and repressurize the cabin.
Yes, and then they're fine. Jobs are good.
And then they're fine, and it's done. Yes.
I think the reason why I'm saying it feels like it's over earlier, I think, is because, like I say, everyone else is kind of converges in that last section of the episode where it feels like, okay, we're building to kind of get everyone back together, and they're just not. So it just feels kind of not irrelevant, but just like a detour, whereas everyone else's feels a bit more. It's got purpose to it.
What's funny is because there's so many plot threads, it's split into like 5 plot threads, is that none of them on their own feel like they're that deep, but because it's cut in between them all, the episode never feels like it's lacking something. Because you're bouncing around, you're always like...
It's got a really good pace to this episode.
Yeah, really good pacing. And there's definitely things where I think they could have maybe ramped up a bit more. Like, obviously one of the reasons why we have O'Brien is because, his wife's giving birth in a different part of the ship, so he has more of a reason to like be fighting.
But he has no idea she's giving birth at any point.
Well, there's that, but also I don't even feel like he brings up enough that his wife is in the tail of the ship, assuming that's where she is.
I don't think she is.
But if she isn't, then that's a mistake. Have her in the tail of the ship so that when they're debating, do they leave the tail of the ship? Give O'Brien the personal stake to like.
Maybe because every so often he goes, I want to check 10 forward, see if there are life signs there to see if she's okay. And the fact that he never worries about it more, I'm assuming means 10 forward isn't in the bit that they would have been leaving behind, right?
It's the tail, the head and the tail, the saucer and the tail. This is not that hard.
What do they call it, the tail? I don't know.
However,
I'll tell you a word for it.
It's better than bit.
Is it?
Yes.
The bit they're leaving behind. That was a perfectly fine sentence.
Continue.
But either way, I'm assuming it's not there. So, yeah. I honestly, I would have had him find out that she's giving birth at some point. Or arguably just set it a lot closer to, because I think she's it's like a month early at this point. So I'd have said maybe it's like a week or 2 early, like where he might be worrying that it's the shock of everything has induced labor early. Whereas it's a month early, it's not really on his mind that much beyond just she's 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, I feel like you've got this character here, and I love when they give O'Brien a bit more to do, because he feels like a character who isn't always given a starring role, but when they do pull him in, he feels big enough that we know who he is, we know about his family life. He feels like a prominent character now, and splitting him and his wife up when she's in this predicament, it feels like if 10 forward isn't in the tail section of the ship, they should have put her somewhere that was a tail section so that there was a personal reason for him to like fight in this debate about do we leave the tail section, because obviously he's still very much against it. He's more siding with Troy pretty much when it comes up because it's cold and whatever, but give him that personal reason. Make it something where he can be the polar opposite to Ensign Rowe, and Troy ultimately being the leader here who has to make the decision has 2 people at opposite ends of the spectrum making really solid arguments. One maybe pertaining more to cold logic, the other one pertaining more to like more of an empathetic approach. But instead, what really happens is that O'Brien's kind of this neutral character, and it's actually Troy herself who's the polar opposite.
Yeah, because O'Brien, he is not opposed to splitting the ship. It's more just we've got time to get, we've got to we've got till it falls below 20%. Then at that point, we really should. So he's not against doing it in principle, just waiting a little bit. Whereas I get what you're saying, where if you get it to a point where for him personally, it'll be like, no, we cannot split this.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would fault him for getting a bit more emotionally invested in it.
It would probably give Ro a bit more of a easy counter argument for him. So, he's just saying that because it's personal for him. But you got to think about the bigger picture. It
would make it a harder decision for Troy to make, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely things you could have improved a little bit in the episode, but it's a fun watch though. This is the weird thing. Like, sometimes we come out of episodes that don't have the deeper side of Star Trek in a next gen episode, and it kind of feels like a lackluster episode as a result. I don't think this one does. I think this one, because it's well paced, because it's actually pulling off kind of the disastery, actiony premise that it has, it's a nice change of pace. If the episode's in between the more prestige episodes, if you want to call them that, whatever you want to call them, if the episodes in between that were all like as good as this, like this show would be basically
one of the best
perfect
shows ever.
Yeah. Arguably,
exactly.
Arguably, it may still be, but like
it might well. But I mean, we've said before, when a show has this many episodes of a season, you're bound to get some that are shit.
Yes,
it's just how it works. But if more were like this instead of just forgettable throwaway, like it was fine,
yeah,
it would raise the bar significantly.
Yeah, so I had fun with this episode, and it did do a little bit character-wise, because I think, with Picard, it's like a check-in for, okay, how much he's softened when it comes to children, and has continued that a little bit further. Now O'Brien's got a kid, which I assume will come up at some point, because that's just the new status quo.
I would hope so. That would be weird if they never mention it again.
Well, given that we're going to continue with him at Deep Space Nine, and, I know Keiko's at least in that show every so often.
Weirder.
Yeah. So they're going to have a kid, and yeah. So, and will we ever get to hear Geordi sing that song? Probably not, but I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that as well.
I'm okay with that outcome. So it's just a fun episode.
Yeah.
Basically is what it boils down to. Fun, good pacing. Characters are put in positions that are different, because as much as we make fun of Troy a little bit, I do think. I think when I read this description last time, I thought that was going to be the focus of the episode, and that would be like the main thing the whole time. And it's not. It's very much even to everything else. And I think what we do get of it is it does have a simple little arc for her, which I think works, which is when she hears she's the one in charge, she looks equally like, oh no, please no. Like I'm not prepared for this.
She immediately turns to him, goes, so what do you suggest?
Yes. But by the end of the episode, she has to actually sort of stand up against Ro and says, no, like I'm the one making the commanding
she's
calls
pulling
here.
rank and actually making a decision.
It's about thrusting her into this position where, in a way, if this is supposed to elevate her a little bit, just in the sense that her character is a bit stronger as a result, then it does an okay job of that. I mean, I don't know if I expect any lasting effect from it necessarily, but it's an interesting one. I mean, who else could we do this with, really, in terms of... I mean, Wesley, you could have done it with Wesley, I suppose, when he was still here. Is put him in a... How you make him the commanding officer when he's like the lowest of the ranks? I don't know, but...
He's the only one there.
Yeah. It's him and a bunch of civilians.
Yeah.
It'd have to be him and civilians, so he's just got rank, because he's the only one that's actually got a badge. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you'd have to have like an opposite arc for him, though. I think he'd be too eager to make decisions at the start and has to learn to make the right ones.
Oh, do you know what a good counter to this would be? An episode where effectively the same situation kind of happened. Not the same disaster, but the same kind of thing where someone like has to be in charge that's unexpected, and you make it Guinan. But the difference is we find out just how goddamn like smart she is, and she's like just making all the right calls because she's so old and intelligent.
Perfect at everything.
Yeah. Just like how wise she is. I don't know. I could see, again, she's not actually a member of Starfleet, so she's not really going to pull rank per se, but something that sort of is a vehicle for her to like really show her expertise.
I feel like that's got to happen at some point. As in, not in the same way as this, but the idea of like, no, they really just lean on her. It feels like a wasted opportunity if they never do that.
I'm sure she'll get some focus for an episode before we finish.
I would
Maybe
hope
not,
so. Yeah.
but that was a fun time. I've you know, it's I have no deep like analysis. Sorry,
Analysis.
yes, or insight. I don't think it's just decent fun.
It's well made and it's fun, and sometimes that's enough.
Yeah, there you go. That's Disaster. So next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation, we have the game, and Ashley Judd. Ashley Judd is back after her weird cameo from like 3 episodes ago. Although I think this time, given she's in the photo, might actually be a character in this one with stuff to do. Oh dear.
Uh-oh.
Oh, as far as opening words in a Star Trek description go,
I'm scared.
Wesley.
Oh.
First word.
I'm contained. Continue.
Wesley Crusher returns to the Enterprise on vacation from the Academy, only to discover a mysterious alien game infiltrating and controlling the crew.
I have not missed Wesley Crusher episodes.
I don't know what to expect from this one, honestly.
How much of a growth spurt has he had since you last saw him, do you reckon?
Well, the photo here, I wouldn't say much. I mean, he's not. I'm not seeing him stand up though, so maybe he's gotten taller, but his face looks the same to me.
Okay, fair enough.
It's
Because it will have been about a year, right?
Just a year, yeah.
Yeah, but a year at that age can still be pretty dramatic.
Yeah, but I feel like his height already happened though. Like if you look at season 1, then season 4,
yeah,
he already had his height spurt.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's all in his voice this time.
Well, he's like, "Hey, Captain Picard."
He's just putting it on the whole time.
I've grown up since the last time you've seen me. I've been in Academy.
Why do you sound weirdly like Adam Driver?
Evening, mother. I don't know. Do I? Is that?
Yeah, when you do that, it was weirdly like Adam
Driver. my deep American voice is Adam Driver-esque. Okay.
It's Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. That's what that was. All I'm saying is, if anyone ever asks you to do a Kylo Ren impression,
just do that.
For some weird reason, do that.
See, now what I do, I'm going to mess it up.
Yeah, you will.
Hey Ray, I hope we're related so we can do things weirdly. Yes, in the tradition of Star Wars, incest. Okay.
Star Wars and Game of Thrones. It's what made them popular.
Oh, actually, so on a slight Star Trek related thing, just a tangent before I do the outro here. Tara sent me a playlist from YouTube, and it's Tig Notaro who's in Discovery.
Yes.
The mechanic-y one.
The mechanic-y one.
Yeah, engineer, I suppose is the word, but you know what I mean. So
it's not like it's the engineering department or anything.
But you know, she's a comedian. She does stuff, and it was basically she's got a little short show that she does. I don't think it's for YouTube specifically, but it's on YouTube now. Where she doesn't really follow movies or TV, so she doesn't know a lot of celebrities. So the joke is that she has someone come out, and she'll basically ask them questions and try to like guess who they are, because she won't recognize them.
Oh, so it was like that Russell Howard bit on his show. Like, why were you in the news?
Kind of, but it's like people. The first guess was like, you know, what's his face? Dawson's Creek. You know, Jason's Vanderbeek or whatever his name is. And it's like, oh, so the crowd immediately cheer and go, oh, it's him! Yay, we know who this is. And she's like, hey, you. Actually, but she's got such a good demeanor. It's quite funny, right? It's a really funny way she pulls this off. And you know, Kelly. Do you know what's funny? Is that I realized that I've been saying Kelly Kuiko's name wrong the whole time, but I've forgotten what the correct pronunciation is. But it's not Kuiko.
We've spoken about this before, where we've both gone, that's probably not the right way of saying it. We don't know how it actually is, and neither of us have ever bothered to check. She
takes like 10 guesses, and then she eventually has to tell her how it's pronounced, because she can't do it when she eventually reads it. But the reason why I was reminded of this is not because of her relation to Star Trek, although that makes it more of an acceptable tangent. It's more that one of the guests was Lena Headey.
Okay, so we're piggybacking off the Game of Thrones reference.
No. One of the guests was Lena Headey. And one of the things they do is they have like maybe like a visual clue or a word game to sort of give a hint at some point. And the hint that she had, or one of the hints, was she brought out photos of various pairs of characters, and one of them was looking Leia, and the hint was incest. That's what made me think of it.
Oh, okay.
It was the Star Wars incest that made me think of it.
Sure, why not?
So there you go. Check out that. I can't remember what it's called, but just Tech Nicotero or whatever her name is. Just search her name on YouTube. I'm sure it'll come up.
Sure, why not?
Search her name with Lena Headey. I'm sure that exact thing, and find the playlist, and you can watch them. They're entertaining. So there you go. Glenn Howerton is one of them.
I assume these aren't particularly long videos.
They acted about 8 minutes each, I think, give or take.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. They're entertaining though. Siri's like the third character on the show. She'll ask Siri for things occasionally. Or is it? No, is it I asked Siri or Alexa, one of them. One of the...
They're all the same.
Yeah. One of the AI voices.
I don't think Google's has a name.
No, it's just called Google. You just say, Google, what is this?
Samsung has Bixby.
I haven't heard of that. That's news to me.
Yeah, it's Bixby. I didn't know until I got a Samsung phone. I was like, what the hell is Bixby? And I'm probably triggering my phone right now. Where...
Anyway, there you go. That's your Star Trek Next Generation episode. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. And apologies for this one taking a little bit longer. There's like a 2-week break between episodes here. But we'll try and keep it as consistent as we can. But, you know, Connor's work schedule's all over the place these days, so it's sometimes a little bit hard to fit these in. So, yeah, let us know what you think of the episode in the comments. Like and subscribe, that helps out us a lot, as does going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. And you can support us there financially. The $5 tier, you get these early by a week, so maybe that's of interest to you. So go and have a look and see if you're interested. But that is us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, and somewhere out there, Wesley Crusher is approaching.